Alright, hopefully I'm live on YouTube. Find out here in a second. Looks like it. Oh yeah. Hey, let me know if the audio is good. I'm just using my computer audio right now because I can't figure out how to add my microphones to this new computer. So I have to be working on that. So let me know how the audio sounds. If it doesn't sound good, just let me know, and I'll just have to upload the audio to this video when I upload it. Hopefully. So let me go live on Facebook, and I'll get things going here. It's been a long time since I've been live. Hey, how's it going, Cameron? Yeah, life's been good and complicated and everything else. That's part of the spiritual journey, which is what we'll be talking about today. Alright, and if audio's good, man, awesome. Okay, cool. Let me go live here on Facebook and we'll get to going here. Hopefully. Alright, so we're live on Facebook now. Alright, so we'll give it a little minute and see if anybody shows up here. Don't really have any place to put my phone, but we'll just give it a sec here. And let me grab my other computer. Oh, and go from there. So this new computer's pretty nice. So let me go ahead and share this stuff out here. Hopefully we'll get to going. Yeah, life's been pretty interesting. I haven't been able to go live in a long time. And one of the main reasons is just because the internet has just been slow as all get out. Every time I tried to go live, it would kick me out. Yep, I got someone watching on Facebook. Hey, how's it going? So yeah, I just haven't been able to go live. Try to record stuff. My old computer just wouldn't handle it. So yeah. So now I got my new computer, and we're gonna try this out, and we'll go from there. So let me see if I can get this shared out here. But yeah, we're going to be talking about spiritual awareness. And one of the key things, that I've constantly talk about throughout my channel, and if this is your first time watching me, I am on Facebook and YouTube. So if you watch me on YouTube, just type in Starseed Bey and you'll find me there. Make sure you like and subscribe and share the page out. I got a huge archive of videos that have a lot of different unique perceptions and awareness of spiritual exploration and things like that. I don't think it's going to let me share it out. Alright, well anyways, I'm live, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep talking here. So, alright, so if you guys want to help me share this out, that'd be awesome. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, so spiritual awareness, man. I mean, I think this is probably one of the key things that we have to start exploring and looking into more with an open mind, and getting out of the human perception way of looking at spirituality. Looking at ways to further explore into things, further understand what spirituality is, and just understand that spirituality is part of our life, Again, I've expressed so much that people fall victim into the physical reality of things, right? This physical vessel, materialistic realm, which again, materialistic realm all over the place, right? People fall victim into that. People want to hear, people want to see, people want to hear what spirituality is, and they want to see spirituality manifest into something, right? They want to see a Savior manifest. They want to see a God manifest. They want to see elementals manifest. They want to see fairies and dragons and all this stuff manifest into their reality. And if it doesn't manifest into their reality, it's not real to them. It becomes a belief or a fairy tale or a make-believe, or you're not right in the mind, right? You're not right in the mind. So with spirituality comes maturity, and with spirituality is that awakening point for your in all realistic perception. It makes you a better person at the end of the day. It makes you a better person, and because this world divides everything, from faith and beliefs and churches and dominations and human doctrine and books and books and books and different variations of the Bible, spiritual practices, people saying the spirituality's the devil or evil. You talk about ETs. ETs are the devil, or ETs are beings that are helping us, etc., etc., etc. All these things aren't put into one foundation to explore into or talk about, right? Or talk about. You go into the New Age community, they don't like talking about the Bible. They don't like to talk about Christ, or what angels are, or what these messengers are in our spiritual exploration. They refuse to. They refuse to look into those elements, right? Same with the Christian community or the churches or things of that nature. I have to. Someone's calling me on the phone. We have to look at. I lost my train of thought now. But basically, when people look at churches and the Bible specifics of things, it's all just straight on. You need to either follow the church's rules and doctrines, or you're out. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you look into. If you look outside the box of the church realm, then your presence is no longer needed here, which totally goes against, again, what Christ's teachings were. Christ's teachings were all about looking within the self and discovering the Father within you, or the Mother within you. I express that greatly because one of the elements of God, right, is that God is that center point of heaven, that God is that highest peak point of your spiritual relationship, right? Your spiritual relationship. And a lot of people view God in different ways, right? I grew up with the Bible stating that God is a father figure, right? God is a father figure. But you look within the Bible, and it's all about the male perception of things, right? That the male is the leader of the household, and the male is this, the male is that, and blah, 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 blah. But as a whole, I do feel that the Bible was misinterpreted in some way, that the ancestors of the past felt that, hey, let's make man stronger, or males stronger than female. Let's totally forget about the female's role of things, right? The female's role. And again, we have to realize, that the vessel that we are born into is very much a part of your spiritual journey, and this exploration of life. So again, people can bash whatever, but if you are born into a male vessel, it's a male vessel, and the self-exploration of what you're being taught here in this reality goes with this flesh. Again, the soul is genderless, and that's why there's so much arguments of, well, the soul is genderless, so it doesn't matter. But as a whole, we have to look at it as there's a reason why you're born into this vessel. Again, when people are born into a female vessel, their life is meant to be portrayed through that female vessel, right? There's different hormones that come into play, feelings and emotions and things of that nature. And it was very understood back in the day, right? Until sexual exploration became much more dominant over spiritual growth and awareness. So there's so many things, right? So many things. That's why I have a hard time talking with people in some of these elements, because people want to just focus on one thing and learn one thing at a time, which is fine. But as a whole, if you choose a spiritual journey, and I really do feel it's a choice, if you do focus on a spiritual journey, you have to start to dig deeper into all the elements of what a spiritual journey is. And furthermore, expand beyond human doctrines and books. Again, a lot of people focus on books. Look at, hey, what kind of books do you read? Can you give me some links to some books? And I tell people, I'm like, the best book to read is the one within you. The one within you. That's the greatest book of all, because that is your life story. That is your life story. This is your book of life. And when it talks about the Bible, about are you going to be in part of the book of life? Being part of the book of life means that you're going to go through that spiritual journey, or the hero's journey. It's so very important, right? Because if your journey doesn't have spirituality attached to it, it's not a book of life. It's a book of death. It's a book of programs. You're just living day to day in this physical reality and being stuck into the programs of this reality. This reality, again, is a matrix structure to teach you things, to provoke you in things, to distract you in things, to make you grow in things, to make you become self-aware of the self-awareness. The I am within you is so very important. Again, that's what Christ taught us, the I am. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except through me. And again, an argument arises. Well, Christ was talking about that we have to go through Christ to get to the Creator. But if you speak it, right, words have power to it. If you speak it, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You are the way, the truth, and the life, and you choose to go within yourself to learn how to fix yourself, to learn on how to fix the shadows that dwell within you, the ancestral curses that dwell within you. These ancestral curses are huge. Even through my spiritual journey, I've learned on just how deep these shadows can go. I've just been, I see the curses that my ancestors have given me through this DNA. It's rough. It goes through a lot of different things. Goes through a lot of different things. It can be sexuality. It can be magic. It can be warlocks and witches. It can be curses. A lot of different elements, right? Well, when you take part in spirituality and you become more empathic, like myself, you really begin to be more in tune. I've been in tune since I was a child. of all of these different things, through dreams and those feelings you get when you're around people, right? A lot of the feelings that we receive aren't really ours. Aren't really ours. Sexuality, sexual urges. A lot of times those aren't even ours. It's someone else's, or it's through the ethers. The ethers are huge, and when I talk about ethers, is the spiritual ethers that surround us as well. Um, it messes with us. It messes with us in a huge way. This is why it's so very important to learn more about the spiritual element of things, learn about the spiritual realm, and the effects that it has within our daily lives. A lot of people don't even focus on those elements, or even comprehend those elements, right? A lot of people just accept what's going on in their life, or they just accept that they're going to be miserable forever. They'll just accept that they're going to stay fat forever. They'll just accept, that they don't want to be healthy. They'll just accept that they're obsessed with sexual natures of things. Obsession is huge, a huge part, and it's part of the ethers. Humanity, for thousands of years, have put forth the magical elements of that into the ethers, and it has created those entities within the ethers, and that's where we really have to focus on those elements, and this is why we have to learn how to train and heal ourselves spiritually in a way that's not been taught by humanity. It was at one point, and that's a lot of what the Dark Ages was about, is burning all the old books and teachings that came from Atlantis, that came from Lemuria, that came from our ancient ancestors. All of it has been lost, destroyed. Look at all the big trees that used to be throughout the earth. Tons of big trees. And if you look into forests and trees and things like that, that's where the elementals are, and that's where the wildlife and the spiritual elements of the ether were within the forest. The forests were known as the mythical land, the spiritual realm of reality. It was taught in ancient books and stories about forests and their fantasy-styled magical world of supposed make-believe, but it was really in reality where the ethers and the elementals joined into one, joined into unity, and that's where you would go spiritually and take part and become one with nature and with the elementals. But when the powers that be that control the world took over, they wanted to kill, they wanted to destroy all those elementals, so then they could take control over everything. That's why you see a lot of dead trees. That's why you don't see forests and stuff like we used to have, right? Thank goodness we still have rainforests in Africa and things like that, but it's rare. It's rare. People are complaining about droughts and all that stuff. It's common sense, man. Droughts are caused because there's no trees. There's no trees, there won't be no humidity, there won't be no moisture, nothing, man. It's stupid. Humanity has been turned upside down into a monkey state of being, right? It's always funny on how, they say evolution, we were monkeys and we transformed into humans. No, that's the opposite. Evolution has devolved, and the powers that be are trying to turn you into a monkey state of being where you're simple-minded and throwing crap at each other, trying to express your ego expression of how you want to live your life, right? It's huge in America. Huge. Man, so huge in America. Of the ego-driven aspect and elements of this reality, right? We have to, at the end of the day, we have to accept people for who they are, which is fine. But if you're on a spiritual journey, you're going to have to look outside the box more, and be there for people who are seeking spiritual truth. Man, and I've just been watching a lot of people, right? And the New Age people get it. They understand what spirituality means and the connections that are so very important with these elementals, with these angels or messengers that are there to aid and help us. It says it right in the Bible, that these angels, these messengers are here to help us and guide us. We're born with a guardian angel. And even in Revelations, when the angel was, I always get it confused. It's either Paul or John. I want to say it's Paul. I could be wrong. But when that person went to go and praise and worship the angel's like, hey, don't be worshiping me. I'm just a messenger. You need to continue to worship the God above, right? Because whether there's an angel or messenger helping you, they are no better than you. That we are equals. The messengers, the unseen beings, the elementals, they work with us. We are equals. And a lot of times they get jealous because we have a physical vessel and they don't. Humanity doesn't even realize just how important this human vessel is, and having a human vessel, it's huge. And when you have a physical body, that's when you begin to, man, it's powerful. That is where you begin to be able to transform the ethers, transform the matrix, transform the multiverse, because we're in more than just one multiverse, right? If you look into timelines and different structures like that, it's huge. It's limitless possibilities. If you create a thought, like say I create a thought right now, that I want to go outside. So I create the thought of going outside. I've just created a alternate timeline of me going outside and going out into nature instead of making this video. But I'm doing it right now. I'm simultaneously outside in nature and making this video at the same time. And that's the power of the imagination, the magi. We're all magicians at the end of the day. It's uncanny. It's crazy on that kind of awareness. But again, you have to discover that, right? Words are words. Whether you're listening to me or not, words are words. And you have to do the work. You have to do the spiritual journey. You have to choose the spiritual journey and where you're going to want to go. How far down the rabbit hole are you want to go, or how far up the rabbit hole do you want to go? It's very deep, right? As above, so below. The roots of our existence start at the feet, but the kingdom of heaven, the true wisdom of the serpent, of truth and lies and all that is above here. And you have to reach that state of being, but you have to start from the ground up, and you got to continuously go through your vessel, and go through those trials and tribulations within your life. That's why Christ talked about going into the wilderness and having Satan by his side, tempting him, telling him to give up, telling him that, hey, I'll give you all this stuff in the physical reality, so you quit doing your spiritual journey, right? Just give up and just live your life in this reality without any spiritual awareness, right? That's the key thing. This world tries to rip you away from your spiritual awareness, and it's huge. I mean, it's uncanny. It really is. Moses, same thing. He took the people out into the wilderness to learn on how to trust God, to listen to God, to listen to the words and wisdom of the serpent, right? The words and wisdom of the serpent. That goes into the Kundalini element of things, or just your spiritual body, right? Your spiritual body. The Bible really tries to help you understand you have a spiritual body, right? And that's where you look into the serpent. The serpent. You look at the book of Genesis, talks about the serpent, talks about how man will try to deceive you and persuade you from learning about the knowledge and wisdom of the I Am Self, and to stop you from learning the knowledge and wisdom of the spiritual self. Two bodies, two stories. And you read Genesis, there's two human creations. Both male and female was the one, and then there was an Adam and an Eve was the second one, right? The physical body and then the spiritual body. There's two bodies. And the most important body, it's both bodies, and I'll get to that in a second, but the most important body that you really need to maintain is your spiritual body. And again, this goes into New Age, and then the church realm will say, well, it's pagan and all that stuff. But no, it's not. Because even in the Bible, it talks about maintaining your spiritual body, going through spiritual practices, which is deep meditation, breathing, the ethers, exploring into the ethers, talking with the messengers, the guides. There's so many words that you can use. Messengers are bodiless beings, and if these bodiless beings come to you, they're going to use your database that you have on a way of how they're going to show themselves to you, right? So if you've been shown that an angel has, or a messenger has wings and things like that, then they're going to make their presence known through that. They can be a light being, a golden being, right? They can be an ET looking creature, right? There's so many different elements, fairies, whatever it is. They can manifest themselves through you, whether in physical form or through your magi eye, your third eye. And they will make their presence known to you, and they're there to help you and guide you. And you also got the jokesters as well. You got the jokesters that want to persuade you down the wrong path. So you got the messengers there. You have the traditional angel on one side and the devil on the other side, right? To allow you to choose on what your will and intent is going to be through your spiritual journey. It's uncanny, it really is. And this is where we have to start talking to people through this in a mature presentation. And that's what I'm all about. I'm here to help you guys unite, for one, and be able to talk with people, right? We should be able to, when it comes to spirituality, it doesn't matter if you're New Age, it doesn't matter if you're part of a religion or things of that nature, whatever kind of faith or belief or spiritual practices you do, we have to unite and come together, because in all actuality, we're on the same journey, and if your heart is full of love, your spirit is filled with wanting to help people, then we're on the same side, right? We're on the same side. And this is where, Christ is the perfect foundation for your life, whether you've read the Bible or not. It's the story and the teachings that Christ put down into those books. Whether Christ was a fictional character or an actual person is irrelevant. It is the story that is there. It is the miracles of that story that has changed so many lives. It's changed my life. Christ has always been a foundation in my life, and it continues to be a strong foundation in my life. Not just because of the religious element of it, but because of the personal journey that I've had. Christ is there. That energy, that spirit of Christ is a real thing. That Christ element is there to help guide you. And Christ, you are Christos, you translate that. That translates to the anointing of the Spirit, the awakening of the Spirit. When your spirit is awakened, it is anointed spiritually. It spiritually awakens you. That's why the church doctrines misunderstand what the second coming of Christ is, or what this Christ element is. It is that Christ energy that anoints the Spirit. And when you have been anointed with the Spirit of Christ, you become in tune spiritually. You are spiritually protected. But it goes so much deeper than that, because that's just the first step. Once you're anointed, then you begin that spiritual journey of exploration. And that's something the churches never teach you, because they feel it's pagan oriented in their teachings because of a lack of knowledge and wisdom within spiritual practices. So we have to look at that. If you're on a spiritual journey and you have been awakened, guides show up and things like that, you have been anointed with the Spirit. But then you have to go to the next step, which is through meditation and spiritual practices, which gets huge. People, when I woke up in 2010, I had no one to talk to, because I had these beings come down. They talked with me. They told me, hey, it's time to change your life. You need to quit eating animals. You need to start doing lots of research, learn how this matrix structure works. You need to learn about spirituality. You need to know how all of these elements work, period. And I didn't have a choice. I was a guy that ate hamburgers and fries all the time. I had a foundation with Christ, yes, but my spiritual practices lacked a lot. I didn't take care of my body. I put a lot of crap into my body. I never got into drugs or drinking or anything like that, but I ate a lot of unhealthy food. And that messes with your spiritual body. Lo and behold, people don't get this, but your spiritual body, its healthiness is part of taking care of your body. Now, again, you have to know your blood type, because some people's body, the body that they're born into, their blood type has to have the flesh within their body. So again, not no doctor, so you got to do research on what you eat. And if you have to have that, you have to further explore into that. It's just something. It's something within the genetic code. I do feel you can change your genetic code through meditation, but again, I ain't no doctor. Do what you need to do. But for me personally, through my spiritual journey, I had to restructure my whole body. I got really sick when I wasn't eating animals, because that's all I did. I ate beef and pork and chicken all the time. That's all I ate. I hardly ever ate any veggies or nothing. So I had to go cold turkey just like that. And man, it was rough. It really was. But I had no choice. I had to. So I went on a spiritual journey, a deep, deep spiritual journey. And I had to go within the I am to understand this stuff. I watched YouTube stuff, and all I could watch was people just didn't know what they were talking about. Or they wanted you to buy a book, or they wanted you to spend hundreds of dollars listening to somebody else speak, right? Spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on listening to someone speak has no spiritual development at all, right? They can give you hints and tips, and if it helps you on your spiritual journey, then go for it. But just realize that your spiritual growth isn't going to come from someone's words from their mouth. You have to do the inner work and the inner healing, and that comes within. You have to go within. You have to face your worst fears, which is you, the shadow self that dwells within you. And it can be scary. It can. This is why a lot of people back out of meditation. This is why people don't understand meditation. This is why people don't understand spiritual maturity. This is why they don't understand the ethers. This is why they don't understand the elementals. Because of fear. Because of a lack of knowledge and a lack of teaching. This stuff should have been taught in school. We should have had a spiritual class, and that's what we should have been taught in the first place, not these spelling bees and these ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, right? What do we start in kindergarten? We start with spells, right? We start with the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. The spells of life, right? That's what it is, right? The alphabet and numbers is alchemy. It's alchemy, and it's something that you're not taught. We're taught magic. We're taught how to be witches and warlocks from the very beginning. But because of a lack of knowledge, we don't know this. We don't. Again, who knew? Who knew, right? That's just what you discover through that. I'm a deep thinker, so I look at all these elements. Not everybody's a deep thinker. Part of it could have been because I was homeschooled, so I had a lot of time to think, observe life, right? I wasn't influenced by the physical reality of things or the influences of those through the teenage years and so on and so forth, right? I didn't have hardly any friends at all, so all I had was me, myself, and I, and my spiritual journey. And just I just couldn't understand why the world was the way it was, right? I was born in a Christian home, so my foundation was always Christ, and I just couldn't understand the way the world was, why people would fight over each other, and all that stuff, man. It's uncanny. And once I went out into the world, right, put on my big boy pants, I was around 19. I learned the harsh reality of life. I learned why people lacked spiritual knowledge and wisdom, why people don't believe in spirituality, right? It's huge. It is humongous, man. And I understand it. I went through a lot of times throughout my young 20s that why you would hate God. Why would God do this in my life? How can I believe in a Christ or God that would hurt others, right? Or you would lose a loved one, right? I talked about that. It was one of the hard things for me was, one of my nephews passed away and he was only a couple months old. Man, I hated God, man. I was just like, God, why would you take this child away so young and then allow the parents to go through that when the father alone was just messed up already? And it just broke everything away. I really hated God for that. But again, that was part of my spiritual journey of like, hey, this is what people go through. This is the reason why people can't turn towards God or Christ, because of all of these things that happen to them. It's because, they're allowing the physical element of life to control them. Our lack of understanding of what the afterlife is astonishing. Did you know that our ancient ancestors threw parties when people passed away? When people left their vessel, they threw a big party. You know why they threw a big party when people passed away? It's because the soul of the person was ready to move on to the next journey in life. It's huge, to the next journey in their life. And that's a celebration. It's a celebration of the life you had with them. It's a celebration of that soul and what's going to continue on into. That's the limitations of human doctrine and why we have hurt ourselves spiritually, because of human tongue. Of these pastors and preachers and popes and all of these things that we were taught as children. We have been spiritually led astray because of that. Spiritually led astray. When churches were taught about heaven and hell, if you don't give your life to Christ, you're going to go to hell. While the original translations of the Bible, there is no hell. It's known as the underworld. The underworld. And if you do research on the underworld is this physical reality. And it's not that it is, I don't know how to say it. It's not that having a physical reality is bad. It's that you have to make the choices for yourself. And what is your will and intent going to be through your life here? Right? Because what is the underworld talked about? The underworld says that we will be thirsty for eternity, right? We got to drink. We'll constantly be hungry. We have to eat, right? And then we die. The spiritual body dies, or not spiritual body, the physical body dies, right? There's a lot of different elements and parables within the Bible that we have to further look into. We have to look at that. Again, this is why it's so important to read the story of Christ, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The life and death of Christ, because Christ tells us all this stuff. Christ tells us the reason why he spoke in parables and lets us know the awareness of how the Bible is set up, right? Because you got to remember, back in the day, in Christ's days, there was no Bible. All there was human doctrines that created a state of dividing, right? The beginning stages of churches, and that's talked about with the story of Cain, and how he wanted to explore his better understanding of what God is, and he wanted to go and venture out and explore into different elements of spirituality, or what God is, right? That's the story of Cain and Abel. The very same elements are there. And you just got to study the scriptures. That's why it's so important to study the Bible. You don't have to be religious to study the Bible. It is a beautifully well-made book for a spiritual journey. It teaches you the very fundamentals of why the world is divided, right? It talks about everything. It talks about all religions. It talks about spirituality. It talks about all of these gods and all these worshiping of idols and magic, and oh my gosh, man, it's insane. It is insane of this. But again, it's because of the lying mouth of the human tongue. We're focusing more on the human tongue instead of exploring into the spiritual elements of the self. It's huge, man. So I gotta start closing this video out. I've been talking for almost an hour here. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. If you have questions, let me know. That's definitely why I'm here, is for questions, and hopefully I can begin to do these live things a lot more. I just have to get things organized. So it looks like my internet has been good so far. The new computer is helping a lot. I've had no decoding issues, so thank God. So hopefully I can get back on track on things. I just have to take it one day at a time with this stuff, and I'll have to learn on how to be able to speak with you guys. A lot of people want me on their shows. I just have to open that door. So I'm going to start opening that as well. I just got to get this foundation going again. So yeah, so spirituality is huge, and I think I'm going to go ahead and make the next video talking more about what we're looking for with our spiritual body, and the importance of that. The code of many colors is talked about as well, right? We learned about the code of many colors. And, I was always thought that it was a physical code, right? Okay, cool. A code of many colors. Awesome. Well, lo and behold, you do research on it. That code of many colors is your spiritual body. It talks about the aura fields and on how each of the elements of the colors is an element of you, is the journey of the shadow self of you. It goes through love and hate and different kinds and types of duality. I think that's the best way to use it, is duality. Duality is different forms of the human experience. That's what the code of many colors represents. And again, it has to deal with the shadow self and exploring into that spiritual element as well. So that's something that I think we'll go ahead and talk about in the next video as well. So, thank you all for joining me, for those who did tune in. I know I'm not on here all the time, so when people tune in, they're like, who is this bearded guy? But yeah, so my name is Starseed Bey. Definitely check me out on YouTube. Just type in Starseed Bey, and you can definitely like the videos, share up, subscribe, turn on notifications, check out my archives. There's a lot of knowledge there, a lot of knowledge of just what I've discovered through my spiritual journey. And if you're watching me on Facebook, again, share my Facebook page out there. It's Real Talk Adam Starseed Bey, I think it is, something like that. Just type in Adam Starseed Bey and you'll find my pages on there. So yeah, so love yourself, keep shining bright. Like I said, if you want to further explore into your life and heal your life, a spiritual journey is key. A spiritual journey is key. A foundation is key. Christ is my foundation, and probably one of the best foundations you will ever have, because just like what Christ said, Christ wants you to go within you to discover the Father or Mother, the God element within you, and then go from there. It's all about self-healing and making your life better. Maturity is key, and spirituality is that starting point. It's not no mumbo-jumbo fairy tale. It's about making your life better. At the end of the day, it's about making your life better. And that's definitely the message I want to get across. So yeah, so I could talk forever. So yeah, so love yourself, keep shining bright, and I'll talk to y'all later.